Thanks, Ditiro. Let's move on to the story now. In the Kgosi Mampuru prison in Pretoria has been upgraded into a state-of-the-art correctional facility. There's a strong focus on rehabilitation programs to help curb violent behavior. Justice and Correctional Services Minister Ronald Lamula is hosting an under-the-tree dialogue aimed at creating safe spaces for men to introspect. The aim is to re-socialize men by introducing alternative gender norms. ENCA's Masego Ratlaga is in studio to tell me more about this. So before we get to this under-the-tree conversation and dialogue that Minister Lamula is spearheading, tell me about these changes at Pretoria CIMEX Kgosi Mampuru. How is it different from what it's been all along? We've always understood it to be a high security precinct, but It seems they've done extra work on that.
So first of all, it's cost the taxpayer just over 150 million rand to actually build this part of the facility. What was different to Lasizo that I saw and that we were shown is, for instance, you are kept in isolation the whole time. The prisoners are no longer going to be in groups. So as soon as you're a problematic prisoner and you're in another section of that same prison or any other prison in the country, and you are that prisoner that is just not listening, you keep reoffending even inside, that's where you'll be sent. So you're isolated from everyone else. You can't have communication. But what was more surprising for me was that even when you go in the shower, you are in a cage. So they take you out of your prison cell, you walk into the shower. All the showers have like little cages, so it's like a cubicle of a cage. You get in there, you're locked in there. You take a shower while two wardens watch you. You get out, you go straight back in there. Even with the courtyard, usually with the courtyard, the rehabilitation system is that they need to make them, let them play football or do all the other social skill stuff from inside prison, so that when they go out, they are able to also reintegrate into society. But when you're in that part of the CMAX, you do get out into, if you want to call it getting out, but that courtyard is still concrete and it still has covering, so you don't even get to see the sun. There's no grass, and if you're one of those prisoners who like to exercise, you're still in a cage. So they'll put you in a cage still, you're locked in that cage still, you're playing, but you still don't have the freedom to talk to other prisoners, or you're still locked up.
Sounds pretty tough. And I mean, Masego, as you talk about, for instance, the situation with the showers, I imagine that you guys must have asked to say, hang on, what about issues of privacy and the dignity of these people? What's the answer there? What are they saying?
Well, at the same time, Tilasizo, you don't want to really ask that question, because a lot of South Africans feel as though prisoners who are that problematic, some of them have been let out. And actually, the minister made an example of a story I did last week of Precious Ramabulana. She was murdered allegedly, because he's still a suspect at the moment. She was murdered allegedly by someone who was out on parole for another offence that he committed before. So that's a prison for prisoners such as those ones. So some people would say, well, we cannot expect them to be given the privileges of being able to watch TV or communicate with other people. Maybe this is a way to treat them, and then they'll come out acting differently. So
is this meant to deal with discipline, prisoners who have discipline issues? Because there are a few centers, by the way, that do this. I think one of them is called Epongweni. If I'm not mistaken, there's one in Kronstadt, another one where if you're problematic, that's where they move you to. So Kgosi Mampuru becomes effectively one of those where problematic prisoners from other centers will be sent there.
That is exactly it. So that's why I asked the regional correctional services official in Gauteng. I asked her, this is a very big responsibility for Kgosi Mampuru prison, because some of the prisoners are coming from, for instance, prisons in Cape Town, and they are considered very problematic prisoners who don't listen, who cannot rehabilitate as easily as others, if there is a prisoner that rehabilitates easier than others. So they are taken then to that CMAX section. It's 283 beds, and yes, you're right, it's prisoners from across the country that are problematic might find themselves there.
So we 280 beds.
83, yes.
280.
We also caught a glimpse, to Lasizo, of the recently convicted child rapist, Nicholas Nina.
Right.
He was inside that CMAX already.
Already inside the CMAX?
Already inside the CMAX. So he's not even in the normal
general
part,
population.
the general population. He's already in this part that is for problematic prisoners.
And was there any interaction? No.
There was some interaction. We were not allowed to speak to him. We were not allowed to film. But actually, at some point, he was telling one of my colleagues, he was posing and telling one of my colleagues, take a better shot. Why don't you take a better shot? But of course, the prison officials, as well as I think it was his lawyer, because he was all suited up, they had to stand right next to the little window. He literally has a window this big. They had to stand there so that we don't get shots of him, but that was definitely him.
Sure. Masego, what a day you've had spent at Kgosi Mampuru prison in Pretoria.